Just another update on my high-fat carnivore diet. I've been making a couple of changes, and so I thought I'd do a quick video. Hi there, my name is Sue. Welcome to my channel. I've been on a carnivore diet for about coming up 22 months, and I've been eating a high-fat carnivore diet now for coming up 4 weeks. So this is my 4th week now. Time goes really fast. So I've been doing a few updates as to what I've been experiencing since I've been eating this way, and the things that I've discovered about my gallbladder still probably not working quite as well as it should be. Although that seems to be improving a lot, which is great. Now, I just thought I'd do an update because I'm making a couple of changes. So I spoke in one of my videos about lowering my fat because I was eating. My idea initially was to eat 80-20, so 80% fat and 20% protein. And then I kind of got it into my head that I needed to eat 200 grams of fat a day, and that's not 80-20, that's actually quite a lot more than 80-20. So I've actually finally lowered my fat yesterday down to 160 grams of fat. So that the 160 grams of fat and the 100 grams of protein works out to about 80-20 according to Chronometer. So when I put it into Chronometer, that's what it came up with. So I'm taking it from there, and so I noticed a bit of a change last night, and I don't know whether it was because of the lower fat or whether my body's just adjusting. But what I've been finding over the last couple of weeks, probably not the first week I was doing the high fat, but maybe over the last couple of weeks, is that I've been getting really sleepy after dinner, and I'd fall asleep pretty much every night. And I haven't really been like that for quite a while. I was earlier in the piece with when I was on started on the carnivore diet, but I haven't been like that for quite a while, but it's been quite noticeable. Now, last night I didn't fall asleep, and I didn't actually think about it. It was my husband said to me, "You didn't fall asleep tonight," and I was like, maybe that's just the lower fat. And I kind of slept better last night because I was wondering if I was eating too much fat, and that was part of the reason why I haven't been sleeping quite as well. Because I did hear somebody say, I mentioned it in my last video, I think, somebody who said, Dr. Elizabeth Bright, I think it was, who said that if you're eating more fat than your body can handle, it can interrupt your sleep. So I'm kind of wondering if that was part of what was going on. But the other thing that I've noticed that's been going on is that I'm kind of getting hot flashes when I wake up. And I'm not sure why that is. I'm not sure whether that's just hormone levels changing with the higher fat or whether it's the iodine. So I started taking iodine around the same time as I started on the high-fat carnivore diet, and I've had problem with iodine before years ago, and I've spoken about this in prior videos, where I was taking iodine for about 18 months and then ended up with an overactive thyroid. Now, listening to Dr. Brownstein, who is the man whose book I originally read about the iodine, so he's got a book called Iodine, Why You Can't Live Without It, or something like that. I can never remember the name of it. I was listening to an interview with him. I've listened to a couple of interviews with him just recently, and he was saying that almost no one has problems with iodine supplementation. He said of all the thousands of patients that he's worked with iodine, he's only ever had 2 or 3 that have ended up with an overactive thyroid from taking the iodine or having problems with taking iodine. And he said that the other doctors that work with him, 2 of which are his daughters, I believe, have found the same thing. So he said it's really unusual, but I thought, well, maybe I'm that one out of those 2 or 3, because taking the iodine again, I've been taking it now for about 3 weeks, and I started on a couple of drops. It's only 2.5% Lugol's, I think, and I started on 2 drops, and then I kind of went up to 5, and I was taking 5 drops a day, which it might even just be that that's too much. But what I've been finding is that the last couple of days, yesterday was a horrible day. Yesterday, when I got up in the morning, I was aware of my heart doom, 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 doom in my chest, which I haven't had for ages. I was feeling really anxious and just kind of wound up. And then when I was eating breakfast, I broke a tooth, which just made it like a million times worse. I've got a real thing about my teeth, and so this tooth it had a really botched up filling a couple of years ago that was kind of sitting proud, and then one day when I was eating, it pushed the filling up into the tooth. So I ended up going back last year and having the filling replaced. The dentist said to me, he goes, "Oh, that's right, that tooth was cracked," which I don't think it was cracked originally, but it's cracked now. It was cracked now because the filling had pushed up. So he replaced the filling free of charge, and it's been sensitive and a bit weird since then. And so I'd been thinking about going and getting something done with it at a different dentist, the one that my husband's been seeing. And then it started to settle, so it wasn't anywhere near as sensitive and everything. I thought, oh, maybe it's actually repairing itself or something. And it's been pretty good. And then this yesterday morning, eating breakfast, I think there must have been like a little tiny bit of bone in something. It was steak and eggs that I was eating, so I don't know. It must have been bone, I'm guessing, which would be unusual, but just my luck. And I bit down in the pain, and I went, and I was kind of trying to figure out whether a piece of tooth had come off. And then I realised that the inside of the tooth, so it's one of my molars back here, one of the front ones, the inside of the tooth is actually loose, so it's moving and extremely painful when it moves. So the whole tooth is basically split in half, but it's still there, and so that inside piece is moving. So I've got an appointment with the dentist tomorrow, and I'm thinking it's probably going to have to be extracted. But yeah, so that just my whole day was just, I'm glad I wasn't busy with clients, because I was just in this really kind of wound up feeling like horrible anxious place that eventually settled down a bit later in the afternoon. And then today, I've still had that kind of uptight feeling inside of me. And I was sitting out in the sun earlier on, and I was thinking, what am I feeling? And it's a feeling like I've got to really focus on breathing deep, because I couldn't get enough air in, and I've had that before with thyroid stuff. So I'm wondering, I've also had the other thing that I've had over the last week or so very noticeably, is I've been getting a lot of kind of headachy pressure around my eyes, and I was wondering whether my glasses weren't right or whatever. And that was one of the things that that I had noticed early on when I ended up hypothyroid all those years ago. So I'm a little bit concerned about that, and so I've had no iodine today. And I'll leave it for a little bit, and then I might just take it once or twice a week, because I think, like, I've noticed a difference in my breasts. They've kind of softened up a bit since I've been taking it, so I think they needed it, but I don't know why. If it's affecting my thyroid again, I don't know why it does that, and it's really frustrating, but it is what it is. So I do not ever want to go back to that hyperthyroid place, because it's pretty scary and not a whole lot of fun. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with the iodine. Now I'm wondering whether that's what's affecting my sleep. That's what I was getting to with this. Whether that's what whether that is what has been affecting my sleep and causing the kind of hot flashes during the night, because I hadn't been having those, and then I am. So, and it might be the whole adjustment with the high fat way of eating as well. I don't know, something going on there. And so, yeah, so I've dropped my fat down to 160, and I'm keeping my protein at 100 grams. And so that's where I'm at with that. And that all seems to be going pretty well. My bowel was upset yesterday, but I think that was because I was just so wired up and just a mess. But I'm having days where my bowel's pretty good with all that fat, and definitely getting better. I spoke last time about how I'm doing, castor oil packs and things for my liver. So if you haven't seen that video, go back and watch that one. But the other thing that I've just been looking into yesterday for the first time is PSMF, so protein sparing modified fast. Now, I've heard people talking about this, particularly Maria Emmer. I've heard her mention it quite a few times, and because she has the PSMF bread and all the rest of it. But I never looked into what it was. So I kind of had a bit of an idea, but for some reason it wasn't something that really kind of made me curious until yesterday. And then I thought, I wonder what this PSMF thing is. I keep tripping over my tongue today. And so I went and I watched some videos with Maria Emmerich. I watched Kelly Hogan interviewing Maria Emmerich. I watched a guy, his name's the Keto Naturopath, him talking about it. His version's quite extreme. But it's kind of got me interested. And so it was something that it's actually something that I'd been kind of mulling over. I was thinking maybe I should do some high fat days and some low fat days, and just change it up, because my body always seems to get really comfortable with where I'm at and adapt to things pretty quickly. My body seems to be very adaptable. And so I'd been kind of mulling that over. And then, when the PSMF thing came up again, I thought, I'm going to have a look at that. And so I'm actually giving that a go. So today is my first PSMF fast day. I thought I might slot a couple of these days in a week and see what happens and see how I feel. And so today, so far, I've had basically 200 grams of lean steak in 2 meals, and I'll probably do another 2 meals later on. I've got some venison mince out to make some meat patties later. So that's today's food, and then tomorrow morning I've got to go to the dentist, so I'm not going to eat in the morning at all, and then I will probably do high fat tomorrow and just see how it all goes. I think there's like experimenting, as you probably gather if you've been watching my videos, and seeing how things work, and just changing things up a little bit. I don't think is a bad thing. Now, one of the things that I've noticed is on the high fat diet, I mentioned the other day that my blood glucose, my fasting glucose, had gone up in the morning. So the first week and a half, 10 days or so, it was really low. It was sitting down around 4.6, 4.4, which I thought, oh, this is pretty good, because it had been up around 6.4, 6.5 a lot of the time prior. And then after that 10 days or so, it went up into the fives. So it's been 5.2, 5.4, 5.6, often 5.6 in the morning. And it's been like that until this morning. This morning it dropped down to, it was 4.7. And so I don't know whether my body is just suddenly, something's changed, and maybe I'm a bit more insulin sensitive, or whether it was the lower fat yesterday, because like not getting sleepy after dinner last night, and then the lower blood glucose this morning is kind of making me think that maybe I've got better insulin sensitivity, perhaps. I'm planning on going and having a fasting insulin test probably next week. I thought I'd give myself a month eating more fat, and then in a smaller meals with less amount of protein, because that was the main thing. It's not so much about the high fat, but the splitting my protein up into the 3 or 4 meals and eating less protein was what I kind of wanted to try and see if that improved my fasting insulin and how quickly it would do it. So next week will be a month of eating this way. Time just goes so quickly. And so I thought, if I go and have my fasting insulin checked again, then I can see whether it's actually working, whether it's making a difference. And as I said, I'll try this PSMF as well, maybe two days a week or 3 days a week. I'll see how I go, just see how I feel, and see if the weight starts coming off, because that was the other thing, is I dropped 2.1 kilos, and then it's been the same basically since then. It's gone up and down, but it's not dropping anymore. And yeah, I'm impatient. It is just the way it is. I've had people criticize me, saying, you shouldn't be focusing on your weight, you should be focusing on your health. And my main focus is always on my health, because that's ultimately what I want, is to age with a healthy body, but losing the body fat is part of that. And even though my body composition's changed a lot and my dress size has gone down a couple of sizes over the almost 2 years on Carnivore, I have still got way too much body fat. I'm still weighing in at 94 kilos, and I'm 5'4" tall. So according to my scales, I'm about 45% body fat, which is way too much. And the hormonal influence and everything of that body fat makes a difference to everything. And so at almost 2 years in, my health has improved lots, and I think it's time for to get some of this body fat off. And so that's kind of one of my big goals right now, is to get the body fat off and improve the insulin, the fasting insulin. They're the two things that I'm really focused on right now. So so that's where I'm at with my high fat carnivore diet. And so now it's becoming high fat PSMF alternating, and apparently Kelly Hogan does that in her group with her women that have stalled and having problems losing weight. They do what she calls lean fat. So they'll do a couple of lean days and then a fat day, and see what works for them. She said when she tried it, the 2 lean days was enough for her. She was desperate for fat on the 3rd day, but she's really got no weight to lose. Whereas people who have got a lot of weight to lose often find apparently on the lean days that they're not really wanting the fat, even if they've done a couple of lean days. So I'll see how I go. And at this point, I'm only going to do probably 1 day at a time, and yeah, I'll just experiment, see what happens. So if you've tried PSMF, let me know. I'd be really interested to know what results you got, whether it made a difference, if it broke a stall, if you were stuck or just weren't losing weight. And also, if you've been doing high-fat carnivore, let me know as well. Now, I had a lady who asked me, Cherie, I think it was, Cherie, if you're watching this, you asked me how I work out my fat and protein. I've actually found out a really easy way with Chronometer, so I'll do a little video soon showing how to do that, so keep an eye out for that, because it can be confusing and it can be hard to work out. So, I mean, I think I had it all wrong before. I don't know. Listening to different people, it's just, I think I end up with this jumble in my mind sometimes of information, and because I am always looking for information, and sometimes it just gets a little bit confused and the wires get a little bit crossed, but generally I get there in the end. So keep an eye out for that. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe and like and share with anyone who you think might be interested. And I thank you very much for listening to me today, and I will talk to you again another day. Bye for now.